is here to run the show. It's Dan King, you should already know. Dan King is gonna run the show. Oh yeah, listen up now, here we go. Dan King, he is the king of the empire, the chief, the leader. He's here to take you higher. He brings the heat. All hail the Game Boy geek. Dan King is here to run the show. Oh yeah, you should already know. It's Dan King, and it's the top.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. This is my top 100 games of all time, and this session is games 70 through 61. So let's get started. My number 70 is a party game, very popular from North Star Games, called Wits and Wagers. This is a game, it's a trivia game, but it's different from most trivia games you may have played, where you don't have to know the right answer, you just have to know who does. All the questions have numbers, like in inches, how tall is the Oscar statue, or how many pounds did the heaviest sumo champion ever weigh. And it's supposed to be things that most people won't know. They're all supposed to be kind of guesses, and everyone's putting numbers down, and then everybody lines up their answers from lowest to highest in number range, and depending on where they are in the range, people will bet on which answers are right. And it's cool because you can bet on yourself if you think you're right, or you can bet on other people if you think they're right. And depending on where those answers are, you'll get a certain amount of chips depending on where they are. Now there's different versions of this. There's a family version, which is just as fun. There's a party version, which is a little bit easier to teach, a little bit easier, it's more streamlined. I think I like the party version the best actually, but they're all great. Wits and Wagers. So it's a fun trivia game that will bring everyone together. It plays pretty quickly. You're done within 20 to 30 minutes, and it's a lot of fun not knowing what's the right answer, but not even caring. My number 69 is another party game from Out of the Box Games. It's a word game. I think it's the only word game on my list because I don't typically like word games. This is Word on the Street. This is like a tug-of-war of words. This is my mom's favorite game, which is why it made the list, because we play it quite a bit over there. So this is a game where a category will come up, like, I don't know, type of transportation. And there's all these letters down the middle of a road. And you're trying to say, I don't know, like you could say train or plane or automobile or whatever. And as you do it, as you spell it out, you're pulling the word, each of those letters, one side closer to your side of the sidewalk. And I think there's like 2 road lanes, and then on the third time that you say a letter, it comes off. And so you're constantly bringing letters towards you when you say words, and then the other team is bringing those letters maybe back towards them. And it's this tug of war of trying to get, so as things are going on, your strategy changes as to which words you're picking depending on, hey, if he has an S and an N and a B almost off their side of the street, well, when it's my turn, I'm going to be trying to think of words that have those in them, so it kind of pushes you down a path, which gives you something more to think about than just being blanket whatever I think about. So it gives it focus, which is why I like it, and it's a lot of fun. Word on the Street. My number 68 is a spin-off of a very popular game called Power Grid, and this is like a 60-minute version spin-off of this called Power Grid First Sparks. Now this game is one of the 2 spin-offs. It takes about 60 minutes to play, 2 to 6 players, where you are auctioning, just like Power Grid. You're trying to get different things. Sometimes there's fire, sometimes you're getting different weapons like spears or fishing rods and things like that. And you're going off and you're trying to hunt for fish or getting some berries or getting some bears and things like that. And so you're going off, and it still has some board manipulation where you're trying to block people out of certain parts of the board. You're trying to get in spots where you can hunt and get food, and you're trying to grow your clansmen up to a certain amount. So this one is more like Power Grid than the other spin-off that you may hear about later. And so it's good. I mean, if you don't have the 2.5 hours to play Power Grid, but you want to scratch that itch a little bit, it is quite different, but yet there's still enough similarities that people that like Power Grid might want to check this one out because it's a faster, shorter, more streamlined version, but yet there's some similar mechanics, the same way things auction, the same way you do move around the board and things like that. But it does feel quite different. Power Grid, The First Sparks. My number 67 is another party game, but it's not a typical party game that you'll find in a normal store. This is Panic on Wall Street. Asmodee puts this out here in the United States. The cool thing about this, it plays, 3 to 11 players it plays up to. It says it takes 30 to 45 minutes, but I find it takes longer than that, especially with more people. Give it about an hour. So it is a longer party game than most people are used to, but it's really fun. Half of you guys are going to be stock people investing in stocks, so you're going to be investors, and the other people are going to be managers of funds. And they split up in different sides of the table, and there's a bunch of rounds where there's a certain amount of negotiation time. This is a negotiation party game where the managers are trying to get the most they can for the stocks that they own, and the investors are trying to get those stocks for the least amount. So everyone's chattering and yelling at each other. Two, I'll pay you 20 for that. 20, yeah. And everyone's yelling at once. It is mass hysteria. It's very chaotic, but very fun. It's all negotiation going on. And then people, get money for stocks. Dice are rolled to see whether stocks move up and down. Some of them are very volatile. Some of them are very stable. And all that happens, and then new ones come out. There's an auction where all the people get new businesses that you can vote on for the bid on for the next round, and you do that five times, and then it's over. But the interaction and the yelling, this might be too chaotic for some people, but it is a lot of fun, and it's cool that each side has one winner. So you have a manager winner and a stock winner, and as you play the game on each side, it feels like two completely different games. A good, heavier party game, about 60 minutes. Panic on Wall Street. All right, my number 66 is a classic, Spiel des Jahres category that everyone should pretty much own. It's a tile-laying game, Carcassonne. This game, don't judge it by the box. It looks very boring. I think you can even get these at like Toys R Us these days. That's how mainstream this game has become. It's a beautiful tile-laying game where you're building a city of Carcassonne in France. You're pulling tiles out of a bag or I put them in a bag, and you're building this beautiful city, and you're scoring points by putting people on roads, or putting them in castles, or putting people in farms. It's one of those games that's very family friendly. It's easy to teach. Anybody can play this game, but there's a lot of fun with it. It's beautiful, and I love how when you build the city, even though you're playing against other people, at the end, you stand up and you look at the board, and we always take pictures of our cities because every time you play the game, the city's going to look different. And I like that. We always take pictures of the cities, look at those versus other ones. It looks beautiful when it's done. Even though you're playing against people, it feels like you're building a city together a little bit. But it is a competitive game. It's very light. You can play it very casually, or you can play it very cutthroat. Either way, it's very fun. It's very enjoyable to lay these tiles. It's a very classic game. You got to get this one, Carcassonne. All right, my number 65. I told you I love deduction games, so here is one. It's a lighter deduction game. It's only about 20-30 minutes. It's got a pirate theme where you are trying to figure out where exactly are my opponent's treasures hidden. And so we're talking about plunder here. It's 2 to 6 players, plays pretty quickly, and I like how this game has deductive element, and it's very light deduction. It's pretty simple. Different cards are coming up. The location's this, the booby trap's here, and then if anybody, you go around a circle, if anybody has at least their treasure in at least one of those spots, they say aye, and if it's in another one of those spots, they say nay, and you go around, play the pirate theme, and you're making notepads that comes with a good dry erase board that you can keep track of everything, good components. So the deduction part's not terribly hard. It's simple, but it's still fun. Then there's a pressure luck element that if you think you know where someone's treasure is, you can mark it on a card and throw it at a treasure chest face down. At the end, whoever gets the answers right first gets more points. And so there's that pressure luck element matched with deduction, which is why I love this one. The theme is fun, the components are great, and it's fun to just talk like a pirate. My number 64 is a second edition of a game, and this just came out at Gen Con. Very popular party game, 30 minutes long. This one's 4 to 8 players. We're talking about Cash and Guns second edition. And this is a game where you will be holding black foam guns at your friends and pointing them at each other to try to hold each other up, and then you'll be revealing whether you really shot them or whether you were just bluffing to shoot them. And then anybody who's still standing gets to draft some loot that's out on the board. You're trying to get money. You're trying to maybe collect exotic paintings, and the more you collect, the better, the more exponentially the points are worth. You can try to get diamonds, because whoever has the most diamonds at the end gets a big reward. You can try to be the Godfather, who gets to take money first every round, and they get to tell someone to point their gun somewhere else. It's just really fun. It's simple. There's 1, 2, 3. Everyone points a gun at each other, and it's just kind of fun to laugh and see, giggle and see who's doing it. It's silly. The pointing guns at people might run people the wrong way, but it's if you just play with it just all in good fun, it is actually an excellent party game. Cash and Guns second edition. My number 63 is a programming game. It's kind of chaotic. It's another pirate theme. It's quick. It's a filler game. It plays in about 20 minutes, 3 to 5 players, ages 8 and up. We're talking about Walk the Plank. This is from Mayday Games. And this is a game where you're pre-programming some movements, 3 movements face down, and then everybody's flipping them up one at a time or going around and seeing what happens in order. And it's really interesting because just crazy, chaotic, random, funny things happen where you think someone was going to do this, but they did something else and it completely screws up what you were going to do. Sometimes you end up pushing your own guy into the ocean and killing him. Sometimes, so it's just really fun that what you expect to happen doesn't always happen. People are pulling the plank in and you're falling in, and people are pulling you back or pulling themselves back and running around. And it's just really fun because you're trying to get rid of everybody and push them off to be the last person standing on the boat. But with everybody thinking whatever the people are going to do, it's just mass chaos, and it's always fun, and it always goes over well. Great programming game, great for families, but my gamer friends like it for a solid filler game. Walk the plank, crazy programming. My 62 is another deductive type of game. It's a very small card game for 2, it says 2 to 4 players, but really the 2-player version is the one I like the most. Noir, Killer vs. Inspector. This is from Level 99 Games. This used to come in a package called the minigame library, but now you can buy this on its own. And this is a game where one person plays the killer, one player plays the inspector, and you're trying to, the killer is trying to find out who the inspector is and kill them, and the inspector is trying to find out who the killer is and arrest them. And there's different things. The cards are laid out in a grid, and there's different things you can do. The killer can kill people adjacent. They can shift rows down. They can try to disguise themselves as somebody else if they think they're getting too close, the other person's getting too close to know who they are. And it's this sort of cat and mouse thing, and it's like you're trying to figure, okay, well, he killed this person, and then he moved this row, and then he killed this person. So that means he has to be one of these 3 people. Let me try to shift a row and get myself closer to the killer, but I don't want to be too obvious because then he'll think I'm that person. So there's a lot of bluffing, double bluffing, deductive, a little bit of a memory element there. But a really fun, quick game that you can pretty much play anywhere. It's very quick, but this says 15 minutes. It's about right, 15-minute game, Noir. My number 61 is a game that just came out around Gen Con, and it's from Stronghold Games. It's a trick-taking game called Diamonds. This takes you, it's 2 to 6 players, and it's a game where it's very much like normal trick-taking, except when you win a trick, or if you play a card that you can't follow suit with, you get to take an action. And you're trying to get these diamonds in your vault. So sometimes the actions might allow you to take a diamond from the stash and put it in your showroom, which is not safe because the spade suit can allow someone to take that from your showroom and put it in their showroom. Some of them might allow you to take it from your showroom and put it in your vault where it's safe. And some might just allow you to take it from the supply and put it directly in your vault. So you're playing these cards, and it kind of puts a very good, simple, but a very interesting twist on trick-taking games. I don't typically like trick-taking games that much. In fact, this is the only one on my list, but I really love it. It's simple. It actually plays really well with 2, which is not common in trick-taking games, and all the way up to 6 players scales well. Excellent, excellent card game. If you just want to sit around and play cards, if you're a normal card player and you like any hearts, spades, anything like that, Diamonds is one that will open the world up to trick-taking, different ways of playing trick-taking games.
He's here to take you higher. He brings the heat. All hail the Game Boy geek. Dan King is here to run the show. Oh yeah, you should already know it's Dan King, and it's the top 100